Okay, hello everyone. We are so excited to have you here. We are here to introduce you to Psymark, and we are the first ever digital visual motor progress monitoring tools. So here is our write-up of today's training, that it's an introductory training, and we're excited to introduce you to really the future of visual motor testing. That in a nutshell, Psymark tools are self-scoring, they are convenient, and they give results within minutes. Here we have our learning objectives, and with those, they are short, simple, and to the point. And we'll show you how our tests are administered and how they can be used for students and clients in a variety of settings. So who is Psymark? Well, Psymark was started by a small group of us as school psychologists, and we thought there must be a better way. There has to be a better way to test visual motor skills than using paper and pencil. And so we have created, this is the first ever digital visual motor tests. And here we come to our author's bio. I am Dr. Karen Silberman, and I have the honor of leading the team at Psymark. After I've had a long career, I've worked as a teacher, school psychologist, and finally as a director of special education. I've presented at lots of different conferences, and finally, I'm also the mother of a child who struggled with visual motor problems. So I can really understand this from a number of different angles. We also have with us today Dr. Dana Kudaverdian, and for the past 20 plus years, Dana has worked hard to promote really meaningful outcomes for individuals with learning differences and other life impacting conditions. She's presented at lots of different conferences and served as the president of the Foothill Association of School Psychologists. She's conducted research aimed at advancing assessment and practice, and she's a school psychologist by training, a licensed educational psychologist, special education program specialist, test developer, and one of our founding partners here at Psymark. So here we come to, these are the first ever digital visual motor progress monitoring tools. And so one of the first questions people ask is, well, what is visual motor integration? Well, the short answer that lots of people give is, well, isn't that eye-hand coordination? And what we say is yes, and, right? Yes, and it's really complex. It's a complex set of parts of us involving our visual perception, motor control. There's communication between the brain and spinal cord, with the electrical impulses leading to our extremities. And we know that visual motor skills can be damaged due to different areas of disease to trauma and a number of different conditions. There's been lots of research on visual motor skills. And with that, we know that in a nutshell, research has shown that there are strong links between visual motor abilities and success in academics. On the flip side, we also know that visual motor problems are linked to a variety of disabilities, including specific learning disabilities, to ADHD, autism, along with disabilities linked more with adults, such as Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. We also know that the assessment and testing of visual motor skills has historically relied on paper and pencil measures, such as the BERI or the DTVP-2. Well, with current progress monitoring, we also know that there's very little guidance in understanding whether an accommodation has actually worked. And so we can see there is this book by Nancy Mather, the well-respected author and educator, who can tell us that, yeah, there's very little guidance in this area and understanding progress monitoring. We also know that current progress monitoring really involves paper pencil measures. There's lots of informal evaluation. It's highly subjective. You try to analyze what your students or clients did by checklists, by rulers and protractors. There's basically a lot of people come down to eyeballing. And that brings us to Psymark. So our tests are quick, they're easy to administer, they're dynamic. You get scores in 9 different areas, and they look at multiple features, not just one. That leads you to really objective data that you can use in writing up your goals, your IEP goals, and your baselines. We also give you charts and graphs that are colorful to show to your clients and parents. They're highly motivating, and we're hearing from people in the field that those students who really don't like to write respond very well to our tests on iPads. And finally, that we cover a broad age range from ages 2 to 99. So with this, that leads to, well, do they use a stylus? Do they use a finger? Our first study really looked at this, a stylus versus a finger versus paper pencil, and we found there was no significant difference between any of these. And so your clients and patients and students can use either a stylus or a finger, whatever they are more comfortable with. And here we can see results that are given within minutes. We are showing you that graphic display that is linked with the numbers below, so you can see right away how your student is doing and their areas of strength and weakness. And then you can use this to also monitor progress over time. So you can use this to look at testing first, testing again, and you're monitoring the effectiveness of your interventions. And you can see that it is also color-coded to match the area of testing down below. So we have our 3 visual motor tests and progress monitoring tools. We have shapes, we have letters, and we have numbers. And with that, I am going to turn it over to Dana.
Thank you so much, Karen. So I'm going to introduce you to the 3 digital visual motor progress monitoring tools, shapes, letters, and numbers. I'm also going to give you an overview of the quick and easy administration process and briefly introduce the multi-featured results that are provided. And to begin, I'd like to say that all of these tools are available to download from the App Store from your iPad. So you would go to the App Store, you would type in Psymark LLC, and then you can install each or all of the apps. Okay, of the 3 digital visual monitoring progress tools that we have, Shapes is our first one, and Shapes deals with the overall visual motor integration. And with Shapes, a student is presented with 12 shapes of increasing developmental complexity, and the examinee is asked on the iPad, it shows up on the iPad, the examinee is asked to look at the shape above the line, in the space above the line on the iPad, and to draw the shape exactly as they see it in the space below the line. And you also let them know to just try their best. And here is an example of an examinee who has drawn the shape in the space below the line. And here's an actual photo of shapes being administered on the iPad. Our second tool is called Letters. And with Letters, it assesses and progress monitors letter formation. And with Letters, an examinee is presented with 16 selected letters. And these letters comprise all of the elements of letters, the vertical, horizontal lines, the circles, the curves. And just like with shapes, the instructions are the same. The examinee is asked to look at the letter in the space above the line and to draw the letter exactly as they see it in the space below the line, and to just do their best. And here is an example of an examinee's drawing. And now we have a photo of letters actually being administered. Okay, the third tool that we have, progress monitoring tool, is called Numbers. And Numbers assesses and progress monitors number formation. And with Numbers, an examinee is presented with the numbers 0 through 9, and the instructions are the same as with shapes and letters. The examinee is asked to look at the number that's drawn in the space above the line and to copy the number exactly as they see it in the space below the line and to just do their best. Here is an example of the copied number. And here's an actual photo of numbers being administered. Okay, in this next section, I'm going to be giving you an overview of the administration process on the iPad. And just to note that everything is on the iPad. So every time after you've downloaded and installed the app, each time you give a test, you have the opportunity to quickly review, as an examiner, quickly review the instructions, or you can also dismiss them if you have already memorized them. Okay, well, so when you first open the app, this is the home page. This is what you see. And if you look at the Psymark logo right under, there are 3 buttons, and we're going to focus on the first 2 buttons. The first one says existing examinees, and the second one says new examinee. Now, in order to administer a test, you have to create an examinee record. But once you've created that examinee record, you can move straight to administering the test. So if this isn't the first time you've used this, you've already tested an examinee, there's already an examinee record, you would hit the button, existing examinees, and all your examinees will be there. You find your examinee and you can administer the test. However, if this is the first time you're administering the test, this is a brand new examinee. So you'll want to push the new examinee button, and you'd want to create an examinee record. This is the information page, the demographics page that you will complete. It's one page, it's very short. And we have many layers of security in the information that we gather. So if you look at the very top, it says name, and you'll see it says nickname. We encourage you to use a unique identifier or a nickname just as an extra layer of security. We also ask you to complete the birth date, gender, ethnicity, handedness. And if your examinee has a neurological condition, any neurological condition that may impact their visual motor, you would toggle that button. If your examinee receives special education services, you would toggle the special education button, and all of the eligibility categories will appear in a drop-down menu. and you would indicate which eligibility categories the examinee qualifies under. If your examinee has medical or psychiatric diagnoses, you will toggle the medical and psychiatric diagnoses button, and a drop-down menu appears. Also, if your examinee takes current medications that impact visual motor performance, it's a drop-down menu, and you can check any of those medications or add it in as well. And then at the very bottom, as another layer of security, you would toggle that button showing that you have permission from the guardian or parent or adult examinee to provide this information, or this is through your role or certification in your school, in your practice, or in your institution. Once you have created an examinee record, there's a save button, you save it, and now you are ready to give the test. And you will come to this blank page with this plus mark. And when you hit the plus mark, the test will automatically begin, whichever test you're giving, whether it's letters, numbers, or shapes. And here is an example. So I press the plus button, and I'm administering letters. So those are 16 selected letters, and my examinee is beginning the process and starting to copy the letters, and will, when my examinee copies the final letter, the 16th letter, then the complete test screen will appear. And this is what it looks like. It'll say test complete. It will go right there after the last item is completed. And you as examiner would then indicate if your examinee used their finger or a stylus. And you also have an option to write any kind of notes, perhaps anything that impacted your examination, that you feel may have impacted the performance. Maybe your examinee told you they didn't get a lot of sleep, or the parent told you that, or maybe there are behaviors that you want to jot down, or maybe the positioning of the iPad when they took it. Anything that would give you information that you want to remember later to review. And when you're finished, you would press save. So, and the test will process the scores within minutes. But before you can see the scores, it is, as another layer of security, it is password protected. So you would have to include your password before the test will begin to process the scores. And this just assures that you, the examiner, are able to see the scores and nobody else. And so while your test is processing, it usually takes 2 to 3 minutes to process the scores. You'll see like processing test, you'll see that on the screen. But I want to note that you will need to have Wi-Fi for the test to process the scores. You can administer the test without Wi-Fi, but you will need to go to a place that has Wi-Fi before the test will be able to show you the scores. So within a few minutes, you will be able to see your examinee's scores. And the first time you administer whatever tool you're using, this will give you baseline measures, baseline scores. You'll easily be able to see strengths and weaknesses, and you will have information to inform your interventions. So if you look at the scores themselves, if you look at the screen, you'll see at the top of the screen the single test results graph, and it's a bar graph. And the first score you'll see at the very top in gray is the accuracy composite. So you can see the accuracy composite moving towards 100. Just to let you know, all of our scores, 100 means it is exactly similar to the model. So the closer to 100, that means the more similar the client or the examinee's drawing was to the model. So you can see here with accuracy how similar it was. The accuracy composite is derived from 4 subtests. The 4 subtests are rotation, which is in purple. You can see the bar graph in purple. Scale, which means sizing. Is it big? Is it small? Line precision. Are there lines where there should be lines, where they're expected to be? And noise. Noise are extraneous lines, lines where they're not expected to be. So this really gives you just at a glance, you can see where the strengths and weaknesses are and what may be impacting your examinee's accuracy. If you look at the table below, you'll see the same scores: accuracy, the accuracy composite, rotation, scale, line precision, and noise, but you will see the numerical values themselves. What you will also see are these other scores. These scores that include number of lifts, etc. These are the dynamic performance scores in real time of how your examinee approached and took the test. So number of lifts is the number of times your examinee lifted their finger. And this may impact their visual motor performance. I know with some kids that have attention, this may be an area that you may want to work on. Contact time, the time that the examinee's finger or stylus was actually in contact with the iPad. The average speed, did they go fast? Did they go slow? This average speed is in centimeters per second. By the way, you can also see question marks, and anytime you wonder what that score means, you press that question mark and it will tell you. We also have a line speed consistency score. This has to do with the speed acceleration of the client's performance. And also at the very bottom, it will tell you the percentage of items that were scored. And we can see here 100% of the items were scored. It may be that there are times when the app cannot fully incredibly score the image because possibly it's very, very different. And so that it might say 90% scored or something like that. So that gives you information about the percent scored. So you as the examiner will know. So once you have given tests to your new examinee, let's say you have developed a plan for them, maybe an intervention plan, a treatment plan, and you have developed interventions, and you have gone and implemented the interventions over time, and you're ready to retest. And you can retest multiple times with Psymark apps. So here, when you retest, you will have availability of the progress monitoring chart. And here you see now at the top of the page, you will see the progress monitoring chart, and you will see if this was 2 times that you gave it and you provided an intervention in between, you will be able to see progress from the first testing period to your next testing period. Now, notice that the progress is the accuracy composite. If you look below the chart, you'll see these little boxes, and one of them says accuracy composite. It's gray, and that's what you're looking at. That's the line you're looking at. And then the next one says rotation. Maybe you were targeting rotation, and you have the ability to also check that box and just look at that variable, the improvement or the progress on that variable. The next box is scale or the sizing. Maybe that is what you're targeting. You'll have the ability to check that and look specifically to see if you were impactful on that variable or if your interventions were. Line precision is the next one, and noise. In a nutshell, the progress monitoring chart gives you data and allows you to show progress. It allows you to show your examinee's response to the interventions or the MTSS process, or developmentally over time, any progress that you would like to see. Finally, as I shared in the previous slide, if you look at the progress monitoring chart, and you'll see a blue line now. And if you look at those little boxes below, I have also checked scale, because maybe I'm working with my examinee on sizing and I want to see if my interventions were effective, and I can see that they made good progress on scale. I'd also like to note that you are able to download the results of all the results charts, and you can download them to your file. You can add them to your IEPs, to your reports for insurance companies. We know that everything is data driven, and this is your ability to show the data. Okay. Wonderful. So I've introduced you to the 3 digital visual motor progress monitoring apps: shapes, letters, and numbers. I've given you an overview of the quick and easy administration process, and I've also given you an overview of the results. And so now I'm going to pass the ball back to Karen so that she can share with you how Psymark visual motor progress monitoring is used in many different settings, and how it can benefit your practice.
Okay, great. Thank you, Dana. And so I'm going to move ahead here and look at the first area, which is the special education world, that our tests can clearly be used for IEP baselines and goals. And so you get exact data-driven results and can be used to help monitor progress of your students. It can also be used in general education, in MTSS and RTI, in helping those general education teachers identifying students who have areas of need, and then developing those targeted interventions and monitoring that effectiveness. And finally, they can be also used in clinics and in hospitals to really target interventions and treatment of people who are patients and clients in those settings. And with that, then the other kinds of conditions that might be impacting visual motor skills. So patients and clients in clinics and hospitals, they may be there due to stroke, traumatic brain injury, or other neurological conditions. And with that, we're hearing that our tests are easily taken from bedside to bedside. They can be cleaned off easily, and so that you get that those immediate results with your clients in these settings. Finally, we are also conducting research. So we're actively conducting research in these different areas. And we are also looking for more partners to conduct research with. So if you are interested in conducting research with us, please feel free to go to our website at psymark.io. So here we have a summary of our 3 visual motor progress monitoring tests. The first one is VMP shapes. And with shapes, we get the overall progress of visual motor skills and capabilities. Second, we have VMP letters that looks at 16 specific letters, and we've worked with occupational therapists to make sure that we have developmentally picked the best letters to be used for testing. And finally, we have the numbers for people who are working specifically with numbers and the numbers 0 through 9. And in order to find our tests, all you need to do is to go to the Apple App Store on the iPad. Just grab your iPad, go to the Apple App Store, look up Psymark LLC, and with that, you will find all three of our tests: letters, numbers, and shapes. If you are part of a group like a school district, a clinic, or hospital, and you want to purchase a group of tests, you can also go to therapro.com, and here is our specific link to our page on the TheraPro website to purchase the test for your team. And lastly, we would really like to thank you for listening, that this on this overview introducing you to our Psymark tools. And if you would like to find out more, just go to psymark.io and you'll find out everything you would like to know about Psymark. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.